what are some areas that you wanna know more about that you're maybe stuck in or struggling in, or you maybe wanna become world class in? How are you seeking that wisdom? How intentionally are you seeking that wisdom? What are some areas that you wanna know more about that you're maybe stuck in or struggling in, or you maybe wanna become world class in? How are you seeking that wisdom? How intentionally are you seeking that wisdom? Welcome to the EQ Gangster podcast, where you will learn practical tools to grow your mental and emotional health and intelligence to be the best version of yourself, both at work and at home. It is real, raw, and transformational. The journey of emotional growth isn't easy, but it's worth it. I believe in you. EQ Gangsters. So super excited. This episode, I've got a number of episodes I've got to share with you all. So this one is going to be on a lunch appointment that I'm going to have coming up very soon with probably the most successful couple that I've maybe ever sat down with. And I'm getting emotional because of, man, I love learning. Like it is like, and this couple, and here's what's interesting. Yes, financially, they are probably the most successful couple that I've ever sat down with. Uh, but that's the thing that for me that is far more appealing to me than the financial whatever that they've been able to accomplish is their family. They are like, man, and I'm going to find out all these details, but third or fourth generation family that have maintained their family values, which we've got a teenager. She's a junior in high school. And that's very much on my brain. I really want to hear from them. How have they been able to? I mean, number one, they've got a very incredibly unique perspective on the world. So that's one thing that's really interesting for me to kind of see and hear that mindset and stuff. But how have they been able to maybe because of their unique perspective, like maybe it would even be harder. I don't know. I have no idea. But like, how have they been able to maintain their family values, their backgrounds? They're Christians. They love the Lord, and like four generations. They have had four generations of business owners, entrepreneurs, and for me, more importantly, solid foundations in their faith and their relationship with the Lord. And just seeing how easy it is for from one generation to the next to lose. I mean, in our country in the US, it's been incredible how fast we can lose values. Amazing. And I am all about progress and growth and all that kind of stuff. I'm not about changing my values and principles in who I am and who I feel God created me to be because of it's not the new trend or it's not popular or it's not, society thinks we should, whatever society, like I don't care. They have managed four generations of family members, regardless of what was going on in the society and culture of those respective generations, of each of those respective generations. And and I know their son, and I don't know him very well. I know him a decent, little bit. And he seems super solid, super solid dude. And so I want to, for my legacy, I'm in the third quarter of my life or the fourth quarter of my life. God may take me tomorrow. He may take me in a month or a year or 20 years or 30 years. But bottom line is, I'm in the third or fourth quarter. And so I'm thinking about legacy. And I want to hear how they think about legacy. And also I want to know, like, what was your upbringing like from your parents and your grandparents? Like, what do you remember? What lessons were passed on from your parents and your grandparents down to you? And so, you know, and here's another thought for you all. Who's somebody you would want to learn from? Right now, I know I've shared this before, but thankfully, I reached out to my father-in-law, and he is coaching me weekly in spiritual stuff on the Bible, where he's doing Bible study coaching with me and stuff. He knows the Bible better than anybody that I personally know. He's been studying it for literally 60 years. He has been studying the Bible. And he's forgotten more than I don't know than I may ever know. He has taught the Bible for probably 30 or 40 years. So that's been a game changer for me. So who would you, if you could get coaching or mentorship from anybody? Now, this couple that I'm sitting down with, you know, I haven't asked them if they'd be willing to coach or mentor me. That's that would be a way down the road question. They don't. I've never met them before, so and I don't, I don't know. Anyway, that's not gonna be part of this conversation. So, but that's not even the point. I'm just incredibly grateful that they're willing to give me an hour of their time, and it's both husband and wife. I asked their son if they would, if both husband and wife would be willing to meet with me, because they're going to both have very different perspectives, but all part of the same kind of ecosystem within the family, of course. So really excited, so like again, emotional, excited about the opportunity to learn and grow. Proverbs 1 through 4 is all about wisdom. And I'm very grateful to my parents, both my dad and my mom, who modeled to me an insatiable appetite for wisdom. My mom, still to this day, just always ask questions, always ask questions, always ask questions. Then I just saw like the impact that has in other people. Like, wow, like questions shows care. Questions show value. Questions show love. And then my dad too, he would ask, he would ask like brain hurting question. Like your brain would hurt like when you would ask a question. He would ask questions like, Dad, I don't even know how to I don't even know how to I don't even know how to think about the question that you just asked me. So he would ask just like so powerful questions. Questions unlock insight. Questions unlock can unlock truths and insights that can change lives, both for the person you're asking the question to and also for yourself. And so, I'm getting prayed up and really asking God, hey God, really want God to be present and to facilitate that conversation, because I just hold a tremendous amount of value on wisdom. So who is there someone in your life, or maybe a second or third degree removed, that you would like to interview and ask questions? what are some areas that you want to know more about that you're maybe stuck in or struggling in, or you maybe want to become world class in? How are you seeking that wisdom? How intentionally are you seeking that wisdom? And for me, just as someone who loves people and wisdom, man, I'm just very, very grateful. Like even my father-in-law, it's I honestly, they're only like 30 to 45. Well, that's not true. 45 minutes. They're 45 minutes to 60 minutes. And not because I can't, he wouldn't be willing to give me more time in a sitting, in a session, so to speak. I can't handle more wisdom in a session. Like he gives so much stake. I can't, I like physiologically, my brain does not absorb, I can't absorb more than that. So like we do a 45-minute to 60-minute session with my father-in-law on the Bible. And I gotta shut it down because then I gotta chew on it because he just shares so much fire. And so anyway, and so I'm really looking forward to sitting down with this couple. So and here's the challenge every time. So I before I sit down with everybody, I've got a whole preparation process that I do. Of course, one is praying about it, that God will give me wisdom to ask the right questions that would unlock their superpowers and gifts and wisdom to maybe for their benefit, but also for my benefit. Like, and in my also prayers, like, hey God, I hope they get value out of this somehow. I have I don't know what I can do for them. But I just I'm very grateful that they'd be willing to sit down with me and share some of their life lessons from a very, very unique perspective that less than, I mean, 100th of 1% of the world will ever experience. And so, anyway, so I'm really looking forward to that. So like my when I challenge, so in the preparation process is like pray about it, but then also I've got to come up with a truckload of questions. So I do some homework on the individual, the person or the couple. So this is for even for my podcast interviews as well. I do the same kind of process. I do some homework on them. What what's their story? If I can I is there any way that I can find out their story before actually meeting them so that I can ask a little bit more strategic questions and get to know them before I get to know them to just be yeah, to ask better questions. And so I'll do some homework on them and then I want to, I kind of go through, okay, well, why do I want to meet with them? What do I want to get out of this? What do I want to learn? Where do I want to grow? And for me, it's I want to ask them about their relationship with the Lord. I want to ask them about their relationship with each other. I want to ask them about their parenting and like how they were parented and grandparented, so to speak, but then also how they're parenting and grandparenting. And then also, I want to ask them some leadership stuff as well. So that's for me, based on where I'm at, how I'm growing stuff. Oh, and then also, I want to ask them some questions about because they're in their 70s, I believe, mid 70s. I want to ask them what are they thinking about in their 70s? How's their relationship with the Lord look like in their 70s? What is their understanding of the Lord in their 70s? What's their social life like? Do they have a social life? Is their social life even important to them? Like, does it matter? Right? Because social life, I've kind of, you guys, I've shared some of those stories. I've gone from one end of the spectrum back to the other end of the spectrum, and now I'm trying to kind of find out what does a healthy social life look like, or what should it look like? I'm still trying to figure all that stuff out. Anyway, but if God allows me to live that long, I'll be 70 in my 70s here soon, and I'll snap my fingers and boom, I'll be in my 70s. So I want to forecast some of this stuff and think about some of this stuff before I get there and approach my 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s. Again, should God allow me to live that long with wisdom. I want to I want to approach them intentionally. I want to be intentional. I don't want to just like, hey, you know, here I am 50s, here I am 60s, here I am 70s. Like that's another thing I want to ask them is like, what were your 50s like? What were your 60s like? What were your 70s like? If you could go back and do it all over again, what would you do differently? How would you have approached it differently? Would you have done anything differently with your relationship with the Lord? Would you have like anyway? I've got so anyway. So this is my the challenge is the next phase. Is like I write down all my questions. Well, in any interview I do, and this is not going to be a podcast interview. This is going to be a personal interview, like for growth and stuff. Uh, I come up with questions, and my challenge is I always come up with always with 30 to 50 questions, and then it's like, oh man, okay, well, how on earth do I need to pare this down to? Because I've probably only got an hour with them. 3 to 5 questions is probably what I'll be able to get through. And I've never met them before, so I don't know their personality. Are they talkative? Are they not talkative? Some folks, they'll only answer the question that was asked and then they shut up. Others elaborate. So I don't know. So some of it I might only ask them 3 questions if they like to elaborate. If they don't like to elaborate, I may have to ask them 15 or 20 questions, but which I'm totally cool with. The more, the better. Well, anyway, anyway. So there's no amount is not necessarily the goal either. The amount of questions, but I want to ask the questions that bring the best out of them and really bring out the wisdom that's inside of them that they have learned and gleaned throughout their life and relationship with the Lord. And so anyway, so that's something that I'm really looking forward to and excited, which is also kind of fascinating, even just about this, how I'm responding. It's like, which is one of the reasons why I love podcasting and interviewing people. I think one of my self-awareness points about this whole experience with this couple is I want to start setting up more appointments and interviews, maybe for the podcast, maybe not, but with people that inspire me, that encourage me, that challenge me, that make me want to grow and be better. And then that which leads me like, okay, well, am I that for anybody? Right? Yeah, uh, so anyway, it's man, I value, I just I have a tremendous value on wisdom and I love learning. And I love, and I love sharing the wisdom stuff that I learned too, which is one of the reasons why I love executive coaching, consulting and stuff. So anyway, what and who inspires you? Who would you want to interview? Why haven't you interviewed them yet? And again, I'm not even talking podcast, but just for your own growth, for personally, if maybe you don't have a podcast, maybe you don't ever want to have a podcast, but for your own growth, your own development, what questions would you ask them? Yeah, what questions would you ask? So anyway, those are all some things to chew on for this episode. Hopefully there was some value that you got out of this. And thank you for just being so supportive. Really grateful for you all, um, letting me be part of your journey and vice versa, you being a part of mine. And man, a big lesson that I learned that I'll share some more insights on is unaddressed emotions do not get better over time. They actually compound. So lean into it. You are worth it.